Hi everyone, I'm so excited for today's video. It's going to be a combination of a tour of my craft room and a little retrospective on past craft spaces that I have had. I've been really lucky to live places where I've had like space to do making, and I have some photos of those spaces, and I just wanted to kind of talk about how I ended up with this space here and what the most important things in a craft room are for me, and some recent DIY projects that I did. When I lived in Oakland, I had this really cool room that was kind of like an L shape. And I had my bed like up in this corner, and then I had this little like alcove, and I had a chair to knit in. I had a desk where I had my sewing machine set up, some shelves hung above it that held my fabric and sewing notions and stuff. And it was perfect for actually sewing, but for cutting out patterns and stuff, it was kind of awful. So what I would do is either spread out on the big dining room table that we had downstairs, or I have this behind me, this white table. It folds down really narrow, like both of the sides fold down, and I would fold it up and spread out patterns on there to, you know, trace them and then cut them out. And eventually, despite the fact that I could sew upstairs, there was so much that I needed to do sort of in one space, like fitting the pattern pieces together and ironing, that was more space efficient to do, you know, all in one space, that I also brought my sewing machine downstairs. So my bedroom became way more of my like knitting kind of sanctuary. So then when I moved to Boston, the apartment that I moved into initially I had the smallest room in the house, and it was basically my bed and this little L shape around my bed, and that was it. The closets in New England are notoriously narrow and small, and so I really just didn't have a lot of space, and I think that in combination with being in a grad program really solidified not putting effort into sewing, because it takes a little more brain energy for me. I just mentioned this in my last making vlog, which I will link up here. You know, it solidified the like amount of energy that it takes for me to get into sewing, and I was already using so much mental capacity to do my grad program that I didn't really have more mental space to contribute to sewing. So I didn't really do much while I was in my grad program, but since graduating over a year ago, I've been doing more, and I'm very grateful. Then Kay moved into the apartment with me, and so we had a roommate, Erin, who's lovely, and Erin had one room. Kay and I shared a second, and then the third room, which had been my bedroom, became basically empty. And at that point we decided to make it like a study / craft room. We also had a really great living room and a deck. You know, I've been very lucky that I've had a lot of space in all the places that I've lived. And so the problem has consistently been the amount of storage space that I've had access to. And so it was always just felt like there was more stuff than there were places to put the stuff. And so what I finally kind of committed to was going to IKEA and getting this Ivar shelf system. So if you don't know about the Ivar shelf system, it's basically these very basic wood, and there's pegs that fit into them. They're very modular. They have all these different like sizes of the end posts. I'll definitely link it down below because it's pretty amazing and cost effective. And so I was able to get this big shelving system that went all the way up to the basically top of the ceiling, which are really high ceilings, both in that apartment and in my current place. And yet I still found myself not doing a whole lot in that space. I just think that what I have discovered at this point is that functionality in combination with aesthetic and, I don't know, like storage, all really factor into how productive the space can be for myself. So in that particular space, I didn't feel like there was enough storage. So, you know, my cutting table wasn't ever clear because there was not enough places to put things. And it was just a little, yeah, it was frustrating. So, so then less than a year ago, last October, through my knit night, you know, I was just kind of talking about how Kay and I had been looking for a place together and we couldn't find anything in our budget, but, you know, like all of these in a good location, X, Y, and Z. And one of my knitting friends was like, we're renting out the first floor of our house, so you want to consider that? And it has been like such a blessing to have moved here. I mean, for Boston and for what it's worth, we just have like what feels like massive amounts of space. So our apartment is technically a 2-bedroom, but it does have a little office at the front. It has a dining room and a living room and a little kitchen area and a bathroom. And so we have one room that is our bedroom, Kay and I's bedroom, and then I got the second bedroom to basically make a craft room because I'm also having a business and I'm doing these videos, and so I just feel, you know, I also feel just very blessed that Kay is willing to let me have a space because they know that it's important for me. And I mean, yeah, it was kind of just a given that that's what this space would be. So I brought my shelves that we had bought from IKEA, the Ivar shelf system, in here, and it fits perfectly. Initially I had wanted it to kind of fit into a corner and to have half the shelves here and half the shelves here and then the big middle post. But there is a radiator heater in this room that didn't allow for the shelf system basically to fit in any of the corners. Well, it was that in combination with the window placement. So really the only place that it would fit was against the back left wall when you walk into the room. So again, it was just like a struggle of having enough storage space. It feels impossible. So I got a second Ivar shelf unit, which is now above the radiator. So it makes use of the space that is kind of otherwise would be empty. And that I think is really awesome. And then I found this long thin white table right here that my serger and my sewing machine can live on next to each other. There's drawers in it, which was just kind of an added bonus. It was like a really, I think, I don't know how much it retails for at IKEA, but I got it for $20 off of someone that was just getting rid of it on Craigslist. And, you know, I think what I've learned is like the longer time I spent scouring Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace for the things that I need, the easier it is to find them cheap. Also, Savers or like any thrift store is so helpful in finding knickknacks and finding stuff and blah blah blah. So I kind of at that point, which has been fairly recently, have had everything, you know, come together in the terms of like I finally feel like I have enough storage. There's like a couple things that I need to get for like organization's sake, but right now it is functional and I have been sewing and it feels good, and it's just like I finally kind of have the craft room that I've wanted and strived for all this time. But this past weekend I had just a couple of things that, like little DIY projects that I wanted to do. Number one was setting up these pegboards behind me. So I've had this one above my sewing studio for a while, and the one that is horizontal behind my sewing machine and serger has been here, but I haven't set it up. So that was one of the things I did this weekend. I made a quick pit stop to Home Depot. I bought some of the Oops paint. I don't know if you know this little hack, but if you go to IKEA, they usually have a section where they have like kind of behind the paint area where, you know, they've mixed the wrong color or a color didn't mix properly or whatever, and they'll have like half a gallon or a gallon of like very cheap paint that just wasn't what a customer wanted. So I found for $2 of pink color, and I had white at home, so I mixed a little bit of that $2 paint with something I already had to get the wall color behind me, which is like a very light millennial pink. I also bought for like $2 a can of rose gold spray paint, and I spray painted all of the hardware that I had for the pegboards. I also did not pay for the pegboards because they were in the space when I moved in, but they were up against the wall that I put my big shelving unit against. So I did take them down, but I hadn't put the one up because I needed to go get a piece of wood and I just hadn't. So basically $20 at Home Depot got me rose gold spray paint so I could redo all of the pegs. I bought some baskets off of Amazon, which I also spray painted rose gold. So basically there were 3 projects. 1 was putting the pegboard up. 2 was painting the pegboards. And 3 was covering my little sewing cutting table with some contact paper.
I'm starting to add the contact paper onto this cutting table that I have, and it just looks so good, but it works so well with this pink. Yeah, this is gonna be awesome.
I wanted it kind of like a warm tone so that it like brought together all of the elements of the space to make it look a little more cohesive. I'll show you right here a little, some images from my Pinterest board. I'll scoot over a little bit. So this is kind of where my inspiration was. Very Southwest, very light pink, cacti. So some of the projects that I want to do coming up are going to be buying like prints for my walls that have cacti on them with that kind of same color palette. I really want to find some cactus shaped planters or figurines, and also get some cacti plants, but I am in New England. They'll probably be fine indoors, but we'll see how that goes. I already have a good amount of plants in here, so there were some really beautiful ones from Anthropologie that have unfortunately sold out. I'm really bummed about it. They were like glass blown vases that were in different colors, and I had like totally had my heart set on them, so I'm trying to get over that like disappointment. And then I got, you know, this rug down beneath me that's kind of like a fake cowhide. I'll link that also in the description. And I think, like, I've wanted this room to be a place where I can hang out and knit and kind of be in like a knitting area, because I do that in the living room, but it's just nice to be able to move around, especially because right now I'm working from home. I kind of just want a change of scenery sometimes. So for now, I've moved one of the chairs in the living room into this space, and I also got a lamp that is like a floor lamp, but it gives a lot of light to the space, and that in combination with the little desk lamp I have really sets the mood. I hate overhead lighting. Does anyone like it? I don't know. So getting those 2 lamps in here just really like makes it just feel better be in the space. There's finally a comfortable chair in here that I can spin in and knit in, and yeah, man, it's just been, I've been so happy with how it's turning out. Okay, let me show you a couple more little pieces of it that I really love. So this is the marble contact paper on that table that I added with my little pegboard. Doesn't it look nice together? Yeah, I love it. And then these are like the baskets that I spray painted rose gold. These are little pattern weights that my grandmother gave me, and then I've got all my scissors and rulers and pens and measuring tapes. in this little closet here, I've got my iron, and then I've got all my yarn set up. These are all the ones that are still in the skein that I have. Most of them I have like either sweater quantities of or have projects in mind. And then up there are kind of leftovers or stuff that I wound and started using and haven't used. Hey, Luna. And then this little cart, it's kind of silly. It's like, looks like such a mess, but the importance of this cart is that I put all of my upcoming projects or the stuff that I'm currently working on in it. And because it's on wheels, I can drag it over from there to next to the chair here, which is not in the right spot right now, but... And also it's a perfect height for me to set my laptop on, so if I'm like watching TV or something, it gives me good posture while I'm knitting, and then I can like set it on there, but it's not up all the time. Up here, so this is where I keep my sewing notions. So I have buttons in here. This is actually my grandpa's old tackle box. And this is a sewing box that my grandma, I think actually gave my sister, but I took it. So that has, like when I'm going somewhere, I'll pack all of my sewing stuff in there. And then up here, these are all the like leftover balls of yarn from knitting socks and other small projects. And then I've got my collection of knitting books there as well as over here. And this is the other shelf that I was talking about that's above the radiator. And my spinning wheel, hey. So this is just like, let me use this space because as you can tell, I just have so much shit. And this is another kind of a landing pad for sewing projects that are coming up. And those are all my sewing patterns and more knitting books. My taxidermied rabbit. Kay hates that thing. But I made it in a taxidermy class and I'm very proud of it. And that's a photo of my mom and my sister and I when we were really little. And then my little sewing area. So let's get that into focus. So I had some of this thread like carrier when I lived in Oakland, but I got rid of them for the move because they're kind of fragile and I was just like, didn't want to bother. But I found that one at the thrift store recently. So I got another one, and then there's another spray painted hook and basket. And it's just nice to not have to have anything on this table and for it to just house my sewing machine and serger. And that serger is also something that my grandma gave me. It's like, I have no idea how old it is. It works great. And what I love is in here, it's a little dirty down there, but she has all of the proper tension written in her handwriting for all of the knobs here. And then I've got more hooks. Like there's just room for me to expand right now, and I would love to put some paintings because look at how tall this wall is. These ceilings are amazing. And so I want to put those cactus prints that I was talking about like up here. And then I also have room, yeah, up pretty high. So that's kind of my room, and I really love it and love how functional it is. And this is where I film right now all my videos and store yarn. And yeah, I really hope you enjoyed it. I think having a craft room, like I feel very privileged and lucky that I have one. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this, seeing my space and how I work. All right, I will see you next Thursday. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. And I'll see you at the next making vlog. Bye. So since I recorded the first part of the craft room tour, some stuff has changed because that's kind of how this stuff works, is it's, you know, a work in progress. So I won't show you the mess that I have made since then, but I do want to show you a chair that I picked up at a thrift store this weekend with my friend. It's totally the perfect velvety mustard chair and a new plant. So I'm just gonna do a quick show of what that looks like. Hi, puppy. So there's this amazing chair. There's Maple, and then I got a little fiddlehead leaf. Hi, puppy. What are you doing? Hi. Yeah, it's just all looking good. I'm very excited.
And neck. You'll never shake me, my darling. I'll never show you